So what I've got here is a paint thickness gauge. So any ferrous or metallic surface that's painted, we can measure how thick the actual paint is, so we know what we're working with in terms of can we improve it or would we potentially do more harm. So it's a safety for me, but it's also keeping the preservation of the paint on the vehicle first and foremost. So European manufactured vehicles tend to be better on the paint front. So things like Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, they seem to be the leaders in terms of paint and paint systems. On the contrary, you'd have probably the vehicles that are Asian manufactured, lots of the SUVs and things that are coming out of Thailand, some of the Mexican manufactured vehicles, things like that, quite thin. So I'd expect the paint on this to be probably 120, 150 microns, maybe even more. There's possibly some sections on a vehicle of this age that have been repainted, and we'll be able to tell, we'll be able to measure that, and they should be even thicker still, so we'd have more to work with, versus if, say, I was measuring probably like a brand new Ranger or an Everest, not to call out a particular brand so much, but lots of modern vehicles nowadays have probably got anywhere from sort of 50 to 80 microns. When you put that into perspective, an A4 sheet of paper is meant to be about 100 microns, so we've got less than the thickness of a sheet of paper in paint on your car. So it's very vulnerable, hence why you'd want to protect it with a ceramic coating, but also why you've got to be really careful in terms of how you maintain and treat and look after a vehicle. So we'll come in now, we'll measure the bonnet here, and we've got 150 microns. So like I said, it's, you know, in that 120 to 180 plus, so it's really good. It's 3 times the thickness of probably what you'd see on a more modern vehicle. This guard has been repainted at some stage in its life. It's got 360, so double that of the bonnet. Come in here on the door, it's a little bit thinner here, it's 107. So in measuring the roof here, that's the thinnest section of paint I've measured on this vehicle. It's down around the 50 microns, so it's very, very thin, maybe half the thickness of a sheet of paper. And what you often find on these horizontal type surfaces on vehicles, so say roof, bonnet, boot lid, where they cop a lot more direct sun exposure, they suffer the effects of UV damage. So it degrades and breaks down the paint, fades the paint out. But then the other thing that I believe happens is on those surfaces, we tend to, when we're washing and drying and even storing the vehicle with car covers and things of that nature, is we've got more pressure happening here than we might have on a vertical surface. So they just tend to be a bit more degraded and abraded over time. So in terms of the correction process on a surface like this, because I know that I've got a third of the paint that I might have on other areas, or even less than that, I would need to just be a lot more careful. So I'm not going to use a high abrasive compound. I'm not going to use an aggressive pad combination. It's going to be something a lot softer. So it's almost just a very light refining on an area like that. If there were any significant defects, I probably wouldn't be trying to chase them and get them out, polish them out. I couldn't afford to, because you're going to take away the paint, which is the protective layer on the vehicle, and also the aesthetic component. So you could make it look worse rather than better. Yeah, so that's why I'll utilize a PTG, so paint thickness gauge, because it gives me that sort of feedback rather than going in blind and hoping for the best. I know exactly what I'm working with on any area of the vehicle. So what I was talking about before when we were measuring the roof, my approach now to go and polish that and refine it delicately is with a very soft foam pad and a finishing compound that's literally just a very light nano abrasive polish that's just going to give us a very refined jeweling effect and just enhance the gloss but not take too much away.